Today is a big day. It is pantry reorganization, declutter day, and I'm really excited because I'm doing this as part of the sophisticated declutter. So if you aren't following along on Instagram, make sure you head over and follow me at sophisticated organization. We are doing a 6-month decluttering challenge. You can also follow here on YouTube, but there'll definitely be more content on Instagram. You can ask more questions. I'm around there all the time. So this week is week 2. We are working in our kitchen first. So previously we did our fridge and freezer, and now we're on to the pantry. So I am pulling everything out of my pantry, as you can see. And typically I like to pull everything out when I declutter or reorganize a space. And for the pantry specifically, I am pulling out kind of sections at a time before putting it back because of lack of counter space. I just don't have enough space to pull everything out of there. So some of the things I'm doing first is pulling out my OXO containers. Those are what I use to have all of my dry products that I use on a regular basis. I don't recommend decanting products, pulling them out of their original packaging if they're products that you use on a one-off or don't use very often, just because it doesn't really make sense to purchase a container, invest in that, and to have a dedicated permanent space basically in your pantry for something that you're not using that often. So in this process, I'm just going to kind of reevaluate, does anything need to be refilled? I had some groceries, I had a little bit of back stock that I could refill some things that needed to be refilled, but what I'm also doing in this process beyond decluttering and getting rid of stuff and reorganizing is making a grocery list of what I need more of. This is a great opportunity, especially when I get to my spices, to go through and make a list of what spices I need to restock on. I do cook a ton, so most of my products I move through pretty quickly, and you'll see sometimes there might be a little bit left at the bottom of a container and I'll just pour something on top of it, whereas other times I will dump it into a bowl like I'm gonna do with my oats here, and then put the new oats first and the old oats back on top of it. So I use the old oats first. It just kind of depends on what the product is. If it's something that I'm using really often, I know that I'm going to use it all before it expires. So it probably doesn't matter that much. And then I am moving on to a Lazy Susan that I have, where I have protein powders. I make matcha lattes all the time at home. So I have some matcha. I have a magnesium drink there, but we have a bunch of different protein powders because we have a vanilla one, a chocolate one, and an unflavored one. And we make smoothies all the time, especially on the weekends for the whole family. And I like to have different options. And then I have a couple of flavored syrups, but one of them I've actually replaced with almond extract. It's not a flavored syrup at all, and I like putting a little bit of almond extract in my matcha lattes. So I've just been using the syrup dispenser and buying bulk almond extract, but I do have one small almond extract I'm just going to toss in here and add with the other little bit I have left. This other Lazy Susan I have is another Lazy Susan that's really large. I love this huge size for corner organization in pantries. And this is where I store all of my oils and vinegars. I also have my extracts and cooking sprays here, which kind of is a lot. I have these bottles that I've gotten off Amazon. I've tried a few different oil and vinegar bottles. These are probably my favorite. I think they're really aesthetically pleasing, and they also function pretty well. I've had a lot of other ones clog up or break, but these ones, or leak, these ones seem to work really well. So I am trying to see if there's any products that I can decant, add them into the oil or vinegar jars that I have, and just pare things down a little bit if I can. The other nice thing is that these bottles do come in 2 sizes. So I have the larger size for olive oil and avocado oil. Those are products that I use a lot more frequently and use in higher volumes than other oils and things. The other really great thing about pulling out everything from a shelf is that you have the opportunity to wipe it down and clean it down. And especially as we move to some of the lower down shelves, you'll see that some of them really, really needed a wipe down. The top ones, not as much, but some of the ones lower down, oh my gosh, were they embarrassingly bad. I love how this Lazy Susan turns out when it's so pretty and organized. I just reloaded it all up, and I do the avocado oil and the olive oil first, and then either direction I do all of the vinegars together, then all of the oils together, cooking sprays together, and extracts together. So you'll see I am playing around a lot this time with how I want to arrange things. The stuff that I'm putting on this shelf right now used to be up on a higher shelf on the left side of the pantry. I kind of go back and forth as I'm organizing, as you'll see, especially when I show you the final product, because after I filmed this, before I got the final shot, I did have the kids wake up and they came and were like running around. They wanted a snack and stuff. And you'll see a little bit later, I put the kids' snacks at the bottom, and that was an absolute mistake because I need to have things on the bottom of the pantry that they're not going to make a mess of. The pantry doors, they can open and they're kind of hard to child lock. I don't really want to child lock food. It feels weird to me, and it's just a pain for us to have a child lock on the door. So I do some more rearranging, but I promise I will share the after, and you'll see things like this. I'm moving the rack for canned goods and playing around with where that goes. I will try it up higher and then I move it down lower. I really wanted to try and rearrange where the toaster oven was. I wanted to get it further to the left of the cabinet, and I found a little plug that I could put in to make that work. I would love to redo this pantry at some point. We had a contractor come out and build shelves in our garage, and it was actually pretty reasonably priced. So I almost want to see how much it would cost for him to come out and make these shelves come out a little bit more, so make them deeper. And I would love to have the shelf where we have my milk frother and my toaster oven, and I would love to have my blender up there, a few more of the appliances, be like a granite countertop or something, and be more like butler's pantry, a countertop for some appliances. If we could put our coffee maker in here, that would be really nice. I would forego and declutter some other products in here just to give that even more space, and do a little bit of a refresh of the actual shelves in here. I think that would be so nice to kind of design it the way that I want it to be. But also, I don't know if that's an expense that I want to have right now, because this is pretty functional for us, especially after I finished filming this. I'm really happy with the way it turns out. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. I tried rearranging all of the canned goods up higher, and this is bad, but one of the reasons I moved it down was because I didn't like the way that it aesthetically looked up here. I like to keep the pantry looking clean, and these cans just kind of look a little bit messy to me, and they work well in the corner there. I don't have to access them that often, and I can easily reach back there, and because I end up blocking them off a little bit with some bins, the kids can't access them as well either, so that helps too. Now I'm playing with where I want the spices to go, and realize this was probably not the space because it's too small. So I'm going to hold off on that and start to assess some of these bins that are clearly overflowing. The categories aren't quite working for me. So I had a miscellaneous one that said this week. I have nuts and seeds, which I like that one. There's one for grains, which I think that one works too. But I want to have one specifically for breakfast, because I weirdly seem to have so many breakfast foods, and I am also going to make like an overflow produce one, I believe. But the miscellaneous one had some breakfast food that would fit in the breakfast category. The snack one had things that would go in the breakfast category, and I was taking advantage of the bin that said this week, which I like to have for, let's say, okay, tonight I'm going to make turkey burgers, and I bought some buns for the turkey burgers. I want to have a spot to put those, and it's not a permanent spot because it's not going to stay there that long. So I love having the quote unquote this week bin. As you can see with the spices, I pulled all of them out. I am taking note of which spices I need to purchase more of. I am wiping them all off and then rearranging them. I have played around with alphabetical, but I kind of like doing them in order of color. I don't know why. I think it looks nice, but also I can still find what I'm looking for. And I think that's the name of the game here. Everyone has their own way of organizing, and when it's something that works for you, you can find what you're looking for. That's all that matters. So maybe organizing your spices by color seems crazy to you and you are like, it has to be alphabetical, or some people do it by like different types of global foods and have different like spices together. I don't know. It works for me, so I'm going to stick with it. The kids' food bin was one of the biggest offenders here. It's kids' snacks, and part of it is because we were traveling recently and I bought so many snacks to bring with us on the plane. I weirdly came back with more snacks that we bought while we were with my family for a week and then brought them home with us. So I just have a lot of snacks. I'm gonna try and consolidate, rearrange. I have a few organizers within this bin that really help for some of the small kid snacks, like all of the little teeny tiny bars and individual packaging. But it just really needed some help, and I know we have way too many kid snacks. So once I finished the kid snacks, we're gonna move to the rest of the bottom of the shelf. You'll see I do have some large appliances on the floor there of the pantry. Those I'm not really touching. I'm keeping those. I do have a juicer. I use it a lot. I have an air fryer. I use it a lot. I have a blender. I use a ton. I also have a mixer that goes in the corner there. And then I have an Instant Pot that I also use as my slow cooker. So those are my huge appliances, and the toaster oven that's a little bit higher up. And you'll see with the produce containers I have here, these are some of the biggest offenders because they are the open weave shelving, and I put onions in there and it just makes a huge mess. So I needed to clean that oh so desperately, and that's where I'm probably going to add an extra bin as well. So the last thing I'm going to show you before I show the final after is some of the bins here that go at the way top. I have for baking. I am an avid baker. I love to cook, but I love to bake even more. So while it might seem like I have a lot of decorating tools and things like that, I use these all the time. My grandma just gave me a bag of extra cookie cutters, so I'm going through the cookie cutters she gave me, figuring out which ones I already have similar ones to, or ones that I'm never going to use of hers, and I will donate those and get rid of them and keep the ones that I want. And with that, I think we're ready to kind of show you the final after. And like I said before, I did do a little bit more rearranging right after I filmed this. Before I filmed the after, I added a couple more labels and added a few more bins. I had to do a quick Target run to add more bins and go purchase more bins that matched. But I really hope this video inspires you and motivates you to clean out your pantry. Even if you don't have a pantry like this, or maybe you have a larger pantry than this, wherever you store your food products, it could be a cupboard or a cabinet, go through it, follow along for the rest of the Sophisticated Declutter. I do this every year. I do it myself, and it feels so good to go through all of these spaces. So check out the after, and I will be doing plenty more decluttering along the way. And until next time, I will see you all later.